both the prosecution and Ramsey Khalid Ismael have appealed the decision of his court sentence in Seoul, South Korea. We're getting into Somali's detention hell that is just beginning now, and how he is in the absolute worst position possible. Of course, as a legal mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney who's been tracking the Somali case from beginning to end. So let's jump right into it with my opening statement. So as you guys probably know, but to recap, Ramsey Khalid Ismael, aka Johnny Somali, was found guilty on all charges and sentenced to 6 months in prison with labor, an additional 20 days of detention, 5 years of offender status, and had his phones permanently confiscated. Now, yesterday on the 20th, Ramsey Khalid Ismael actually submitted for an appeal in Seoul, South Korea. And today we have news that the prosecution has filed an appeal. So it is officially happening. Here's the actual submission form you can pull online, and you see here 4/21/2026, prosecutor Park Sojung submits an appeal, and the prosecutor submitted a statement for grounds for the appeal. So it is happening, folks. And right now, we need to understand that after he was dragged out of the courtroom, he was handcuffed, all of his possessions were taken, he was marched off to the police station where he remained in a holding cell probably over the weekend, and then he's taken to Seoul Detention Center, specifically Seoul Nambu Detention Center, which is where we have essentially confirmed he is right now. And we're going to get into exactly how bad that is. But what's good is the cabbages are still available. So if you guys haven't got a cabbage plushie, make sure you get those to celebrate this momentous occasion of Johnny finally getting what he deserves. The link is in the description below, and it's also in the pinned comments. All right, so let's get into this detention hell. So in case you guys weren't paying attention to my other video, I'm going to recap this double detention and how this works to extend his sentence. So he did receive 6 months of prison, technically 6 months and 20 days. But on top of that, they can slap at least 6 months for the appeal. Actually, that can go even more if he appeals to higher courts. It brings us all the way up to Supreme Court. He could get up to perhaps another 8 months on top of that. So this can go well over a year. But at a minimum, we're looking at 6 months here. And so even after the time of his sentence, so even after the 6 months is done, they don't let you go and let you back in Korea after that conviction. They have to hold him in the detention center. He's in there with other folks that are appealing, other folks that are perhaps waiting to get sent out of the country or have other issues. So all of those people are held there. They do not get to roam free. They are forced to stay in the detention center even past the time of their sentence. So even if Johnny was to win, that may not work out right. And why this is particularly funny and something that we've held on to for a very long time is because we knew that if he was, and we in the SCT knew that if he appealed this, he would be stuck in the detention center for even longer. So if he'd actually just taken the sentence and ridden it out, he might be able to just get out of there quicker. It's possible if the prosecutor didn't appeal that. But because he actually appealed, he's now stuck. And I know that sounds crazy, right? As it says here, wait, what? But I put in my appeal. I'm going to go to prison for how much longer? That's not fair. Well, in Korea, the process is the punishment. And indeed, he is learning here today. So all throughout that appeal process, he's going to be stuck in the detention center. And we're going to get into why the detention center specifically is worse than the labor prison. But to do that, we really need to explain to you guys how the labor prison compared to the detention center is absolute heaven. That labor center, the factory where you've been making fish cakes or cleaning toilets, doing whatever else, the labor prison, which likely would be Chonan prison, that prison to prisoners looks like heaven compared to the hell that is the detention center, specifically Seoul Nambu Detention Center. We had the chance to actually interview someone who'd been there to that detention center, and they walked us through the entire process on and how it's such a bad thing. And just so you guys understand, this is what happens. They start at the court, they may go to the police station in a holding cell for a couple days, and then they go to the detention center. And they wait at the detention center till that appeal period is up. And if they choose not to appeal, if they do not appeal, then they'll go on to the prison that they are sorted into, right? So if it's a labor charge that requires you to do labor, they'll go to a labor prison, likely Chonan, end up in a factory job there, and end up doing that work at that separate prison, at that labor prison. But if they appeal, this step 2, never goes to step 3. They're stuck in this detention center. And this detention center, ladies and gentlemen, is rough. So talking and interviewing with our individual who'd been there and going through all the details, there's some crazy stuff. First of all, the detention center is at a 130% capacity. In the detention center, specifically Seoul Nambu Detention Center, they are packed in tight. They pack them in 6 people to a room for foreigners, 7 for Koreans, probably because they assume that foreigners are larger and going to take up more space. And indeed, the one with the lowest rank, the one who is considered the lowest in the room, has to sleep next to the toilet. And mind you, these are Korean squatting style toilets. So they're stuck next to that toilet in the room. Foreigners are not given the ability to exit the room. They essentially stay in the room all day because there's none of the tasks that they can do because they don't speak Korean at the prison. They can't do things like serve food, etc. They're also only given about 30 minutes of outdoor time every other Saturday. So they're not getting much outdoor time at all. They're really stuck in that room almost the entire time. The other thing is you really can't talk. Talking is not a thing. Socializing is not a thing. You really can't communicate with people. And the only way people communicate is by letters or on the rare occasion that a family member shows up to see them. Hot water is something that people fight over in this prison. In fact, they only get usually 1 hot shower a week. There's also no air conditioning, so he'll be dealing with a very, very hot summer in that prison coming up right now. Also, lawyers in the prison try to exploit foreigners, and oftentimes they're there giving bad legal advice. Of course, Johnny is no stranger to bad legal advice. Let's remind you of what his lawyer said to him during the pendency of the trial.
April 1st at 1000 hours.
Does he think that this charge will have any jail time? Because people on the internet are saying, I know it's bull. Don't even say that. Just say, this charge, people are saying I'm going to go to jail for this. Is that true?
이거 감금될까요, 얘? 많이 유죄되면.
구속되냐고?
네.
그럴 가능성은 없어. 미국인이야.
What do you say?
그래.
He's saying that
근데 저번에 처음에
probably not because
얘기했잖아.
you are an
미국인들
American.
탐으로 하지.
See, this is the opinion he was relying upon. He was relying upon getting out because he's American, and even his lawyer gave him that bad advice that, hey, you're not going to get punished because you're American. Well, clearly that was not the case. The other thing is, of course, as you can probably imagine, prison food is horrible. You are only getting buckets of rice and soup, and this is actually very low quality. It was actually noted that on Korean holidays like Chuseok, they give out special white rice that is of higher quality because normally what they're giving them is extremely low quality, and people are fighting over the food and the rationing there as well. There is a commissary, but here's the problem. You can't order from that commissary unless you speak Korean. Unless you're going to be speaking in fluent Korean, they're not allowing you to order from that commissary unless you can buddy up with somebody who can order for you. So Johnny Somali is not getting any perks or anything special in prison. Let's turn to this letter here that actually looks at a letter written from the prisoner that we interviewed, or rather to the prisoner that we interviewed from somebody in the labor prison. So this is a letter written between friends. They were actually both, charged with a similar thing. And this letter explains how much better the labor prison is than the detention center. They say, try to come fast because in Chonan, that's the labor prison, the time is passing very well. Every morning we go to the factory and 5 o'clock we come to the room. All day we're busy in work, talking to many people and also having the opportunity of a phone call, and also can talk to your friends. And fortunately with Mr. Park Chung, he is very famous in Chonan prison. Take good care of yourself and stay warm. Remember me in your prayers. This is the type of thing you're seeing. So you're seeing someone in the labor prison looking back and talking to someone in the detention center saying, hey, you got to get here quickly because this is so much better. That takes me to my judgment. So in judgment, Somali is now stuck in Korea for beyond his 6-month sentence. He's officially going to be there even longer, likely a year, possibly more. If we get a verdict that's even longer, that will be great. His detention center life will be a living hell. He's stuck in there kind of head to foot, packed in tight, stuck in the room, not going anywhere, no communication, no internet, all that other stuff. It is worse than the labor prison that he is stuck in. And we are still going to push, despite all of this happening, as the prosecutor has appealed, as Johnny's appealed, we're still going to push for the maximum time locked up in Korea. We still think he needs to get multiple years, 2 to 3 years, and we're going to continue to push for that. But what do you guys think about his detention center hell? I want to know if it's, is it deserved? Is it too much? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.